All right. So Ronnie and you guys and I have been talking throughout the months about the uncertainty that's going on and the impact that it's having on gold and silver. And so I thought today we could talk about 3 different events that have come up recently and to see why people need to say, wow, this gold and silver makes sense to invest in. So the first one is about the LA fires, and you can reference it. What did I say specifically was the Google, Ronnie? It was preliminary cost damage of LA fires at 385 million, expected to rise. So if people look up that link, they're going to be able to see that the LA fires has been going on. It's still continuing to burn, and it just caused significant amounts of money of loss of both people's lives, their homes and their businesses. And the 385 billion is going to long-term have a domino effect. Insurance companies, national insurance companies, regional insurance companies are going to have to pay off whatever they can. And what's happened is because there's been so many fires in California, they've actually have what's called the California Fair Plan, and they take care of insurance for very risky environments and areas like California does for all the fires that they have. So this fire plan, the guy that's ahead of it basically says we cannot cover this damage. And so what's going to happen in the domino effect is it's also going to start impacting regional and national banks. And there's the potential of banks collapsing. So that in itself causes people concern, right? So if you're in California or work in some insurance companies and you're seeing that you're now out of jobs because of the insurance companies failing and or concern of the banks are like, oh my gosh, they're pulling out all this money, right, from the insurance companies, people are going to start feeling uncertain. And this is a perfect example of people investing in gold and silver. So, and different people will ask different questions specifically to it, right? So what would be an example, Ronnie, of some questions that you think people would wonder when they're saying, this is uncertain times, this makes me really nervous, if you were involved in the LA fires?
If I was involved with the LA fires, so not pertaining to gold and silvers at all. Well, the big thing is just the insurance.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Because so many people withdrew their so many companies withdrew their fire insurance, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So what am I gonna do? How am I gonna survive? And I can't get any money. My house is burnt to the ground. What's my next step?
Yeah. I guess a year ago, there was actually 1,000 families who they stopped doing insurance because they just didn't want to go there anymore because they thought, it's expensive. But those rates are going to be astronomical, right? And so they didn't have insurance. And now, Governor Newsom decided to save the smelt, but not the people. And now all this horrific damage has happened to people in their lives. So I'd be the same way, Ronnie. I would be like, wow, if I'm going to have this happen again, and my bank, besides having my insurance not happen anymore and fail, and now my bank has failed, what am I going to do to protect myself? And that's what people look to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the second one that came up that's been happening, and you and I have been talking about this for a couple of years, is BRICS nations. And you do such a great job of describing BRICS nation. Would you like to share with the group what you know?
That's fine. Yeah, BRIC Nation. See if I can pull that up. Which one was that again? Is that the investor? Look the gold. That's not it, right?
Yeah, no, it is the one that says BRICS grows, adding Indonesia as a member, world's 4th most But with this article, it's basically saying that BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, they do the de-dollarization. They are to the point where President Putin decided as a leader he was being manhandled by America for having tariffs. And so there you go. And so Putin went to China to say, do you have another system that I can use? And there was a SWIFT system, which they used. And so China and Brazil decided, let's get some nations together and see if we can come up with our own currency. More recently, they've decided that instead of getting their own one unique currency, for them to shift to that they would be able to advocate for local currencies among their own countries, but not depending on the US dollar. So, and in that article you just pulled up, it's basically saying, once again, another country joined the BRICS nation. And this one's Indonesia. And Indonesia is, one of the top producing nickel productions, was critical for renewable energy. And so they're going to be a major player. And you can see all I can't even read the nations, Ronnie, but what does it say?
BRICS now has 10 full members. They are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, the UAE. Another 8 countries became BRIC partners in January 2025. And that's Belarus, Bolivia, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan.
Yeah, so that all those nations consist of half the world's population, right? So that needs to be taken seriously. And when I heard about BRICS nations and I kept following it, I kept saying, wow, this could be a real problem if, it keeps impacting the dollar, and where these nations are saying, we're not even going to buy or do any kind of trade with America. We'll just trade among ourselves and use our local currencies between ourselves. And that's what they're coming up with. So how would that be for you, Ronnie? What do you think about when you think about BRICS nation?
Well, I think it's a matter of, the word that comes to mind is informed, because people aren't informed. They just think the dollar is just going to exist just because. And
Right.
the reason it exists as it does is just because it's the world currency. I was talking to somebody the other day, a financial advisor friend, and we were talking about all the pies, all the graphs, all the research they have, and everything you guys have is based on the US as the world currency. So if that status is removed, are these stats even valuable? He just looked at me like, so yeah, because that's something that could happen, and we're literally in uncharted waters if the
Yes.
dollar removes its world currency, world reserve status, number one. And number two,
Right.
we're already experiencing inflation as it is. And what
Yes.
happens if we lose the one thing that's keeping hyperinflation from coming here?
100%.
That's what we're looking at. Could be looking
Yeah.
at.
Exactly. And, President Biden signed off on the central bank digital currency, which now President Trump says that's not going to happen. However, something's going to happen with the dollar, with it going down, because while there could be a potential that the economy may come back, it's not going to come back immediately. There's been a lot of damage done, right? And a year, 2 years, whatever that may be. So, we still have the high inflation. And, great part is we're going to have tariffs. But if we start having other countries start doing their own deal and trading among their own local currencies. And I remember a year ago, we used to have OPEC, or the, petroleum oil deal. And that went over to the BRICS nations, right? So our power is just going away.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Trump has some things he wants to do, but it might be limited at this point, and, you just don't know. It's a very uncertain time.
Right. You're right. I agree with you when you say, we're in uncharted waters.
Mhm.
And that's the perfect reason why I have bullion to trade with and for legacy for my kids long-term, collectible coins. So,
Yeah.
and the final one that we're talking about was a different crisis that's going on, like in the Middle East with Iran and Saudi. There's that issue. There's good old Ukraine and Russia, and then the good old sovereign debt crisis that's going on in Europe. So all that, after a while, it starts really highlighting for people, wow, what's going to happen, right? So what's your thinking? What have you heard out there about when you think about all that crisis in the other part of the world?
From a, world geoeconomic perspective, it's just volatility and, it's gonna affect the dollar. I'm trying to share the screen right now. It's gonna
Yeah,
affect the dollar negatively. I think Trump's kind of propping the dollar up right now just by being in office, just by that alone. But
right,
that can only last so long. So
right,
all the damage that's been done in the past is eventually gonna rear its head, and these events taking place in the Middle East are gonna play a major role as well. I
right,
mean, yeah, we hope not, but we could be looking at a pretty major, storm.
right.
Hope not, but we could be
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah, it was wild because I was listening to Kirk Elliott. I like him a whole bunch, and he was saying, since the election, gold and silver's kind of been going sideways,
Mhm.
and stocks as well. But after people realize that it's not going to be right away, right?
Yeah,
They're like, wow. And so the uncertainty of not investing in the stocks and the bonds are not doing anything, they're doing terrible, right? They're seeing an increase in gold and silver prices. They're seeing an increase in crypto, right? Because people are going outside the Federal Reserve. They do not know what's going to happen with the dollar.
yeah, yeah. And you obviously can only give opinions here. Me personally, it's just the time to do your research, do your due diligence, and find out what's going on beyond what the talking heads might be saying on the MNSBC, the
Yeah.
mainstream media. So, just be curious and get as much information as you can and use your discernment, because
Yes.
we don't even know what truth is these days. So,
I, I don't know about you, but that's what saved me during the whole COVID thing was, and I was taught as a child by my father to think and to do research and figured out, and is exactly what you're saying is, um, I don't take anybody's word for it. I like to listen to all kinds of different resources and go with my gut. And it's given me a lot of good guidance and really doing my homework and listening to the people that have done all the data. I, even for once looked into crypto and again, because it's outside the Federal Reserve and I'm hearing some good stuff. I mean, so, when you want to start thinking outside the Federal Reserve, it's smart to say, I feel more secure, I feel more safe with having more diversification. That just makes me feel more stable.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And precious metals are good because that's something you can literally hold on to, and that's outside
Yes.
of the dollar that might, hopefully it won't, but it could be, if not worthless, it could be close to it at one time. It's good to have something you can hold on to and trade, something that's recognized worldwide. And
Yes, exactly.
can't say that with anything they can press a button and get rid of. You're at risk. And I have
Yes.
crypto too, but I'm also aware if it's online, they can take
Yes.
it. You have to have it
Yes.
offline.
100%.
So
And
yeah,
that's why when I bring my gold and silver and I carry some with me and I drop it in people's hands,
Mhm.
guess what? They feel it, right?
Mhm.
They have it. It's something that's like, wow, I didn't know this was so heavy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, and do you know how much gold's gone up in almost 15 years? I haven't looked recently, but it was 600% in 15 years. And
Mm.
silver was between 500 and 550 in
Wow.
15 years. So yeah, and you think about all the industrial uses of silver that we haven't even talked about, right? I
Mhm.
was told the solar industry literally will take the entire production of silver in 2025.
Yeah, I've read that as well.
Yeah, so with that and the electric vehicle car with Samsung, just a variety of different, things. The Department of Defense, they literally invest in gold and silver because it doesn't erode. So you've got missiles like the Tomahawks. A friend of mine works at Lockheed, and he said a Tomahawk missile takes 500 ounces of silver in just one. So think about all this conflict that's going on and all the missiles being shot.
Wow.
There's been a deficit in silver the last 5 years. So if
Mm.
there's a deficit the last 5 years, and I had heard, and don't know if this is going to be the case, and I'll try to get the research next time, but there's an estimate that silver would be out by 2025, 2026.
No more silver?
Supposedly, I've heard that. I will look for that next time we do our thing. I'll have that article for you to show people. So,
Wow. That's,
yeah,
I mean, it's the new, not new, it's been here forever, obviously, but you can look at it as a Bitcoin because it's
yes,
not close to, in theory, it's not close to where it could go. And it's based on what you just said, it has limited, it has a finite amount.
right,
Same with Bitcoin.
right,
Most people view gold as as the you know, your physical Bitcoin, I guess you could say. But it might be silver because silver has a long, not I think gold has a long way to go, but $2,000 or whatever it is now versus 25, $35. That's a one might have a long way to go, but another one really has a long way to go.
right. Well,
So
it's been really interesting. I've been listening, and this is something we'll talk about in another time. But people learn how to shift between when I should buy gold and when I should buy silver. And there's a ratio. If you divide literally the spot price of gold by the spot price of silver, when like now, I've seen it anywhere from what 60 to 90 to 1, right? And when it's high like that, you buy silver because you can buy a lot of silver. But when the ratio goes down, and at one point it was like 15 to 1 years and years ago, um, then that's when you buy gold, right? And sometimes people will literally sell their silver and then buy a bunch of gold. And so that's how people make their money in gold and silver. And it's an interesting concept, right? So, yeah. So, anyway, and there's organizations out there that actually have digital wallets that they literally can do that on the fly. They can buy fractional or whole amounts of gold, keep it in their private vault, and automatically and instantly sell it. And it's important to find those organizations.
yeah,
So you
100%.
can, when they have those ratios, you can flip it. So,
Very interesting stuff.
yes. But so the bottom line is that during uncertain times like this, people feel uncomfortable, they feel unstable, that feeling vulnerable is when they start saying, I want to safeguard my assets. I
Yeah,
want to protect them for my family.
100%, 100%.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end.
All right, right.
This is
Sounds
our
good.
first
Thank you. It
live.
was great seeing you.
Yeah, you as well. It's our first live for we're going to change the name, by the way, the North Georgia Precious Metals Group. This is the first live for you guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. We're going to post this in the group. We're going to post shorts of this in the group as well and out throughout social media. So, Sam, do you have any words you want to say to close out?
I just say, you know, do your research. investigate into gold and silver as a physical asset to diversify. We in the United States have a tendency to think it's just stocks and bonds. But I think it's important for the people to consistently think about gold and silver as a regular investment, just like a 401k.
Sounds good. That's a perfect way to close it out. So,
Okay.
all right, well, that's it, everyone. Thanks for having us. And like I said, be on the lookout for more of our lives, and everyone have a great rest of the weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.